amongst all the First Nations, there's always one common teaching when it comes to tobacco. When you are dealing with tobacco, you must come to it with a positive heart, with great intentions. If you come to your tobacco seeds, your tobacco plant, even to your soil itself, with negative intentions, it's not going to grow. It's not going to grow well for you, because you have to know that plants, all the plants out there that are growing, are sentient beings. They are alive. They are here to help us, to help guide us. But we have to open our hearts and open our minds. All right. So when you're dealing with tobacco, the sentient being, this great sentient being, one of our sacred gifts, you come to it with positive energy. Try your best not to have negative energy. If you feel negative energy, I want you to feel it and see if you can remove yourself from the room and let it go, right? Because you have to know that this tobacco is probably bringing up that negative energy to pull it out of you, so positive energy can step in, okay? So many different teachings among First Nations, but the one main teaching is be positive with tobacco seeds. When you're gardening with me, if you're ever on site, before I start all my gardening, I talk to the plants, I talk to my seeds, because we are in a communication with each other, okay? So talk to them, laugh with them, play some music for them. Trust me, they love music. They love music. One thing about traditional tobacco you should know, because there are different kinds of tobacco. Now that our tobacco has been taken and brought around the world, our original tobacco plant has been split, so many different kinds of tobacco for big company. But traditional tobacco, which you'll see that I have summary here, right? Traditional tobacco, when used, is one of the greatest medicines for you. It helps to promote healing and spiritual healing, community well-being. But if you disrespect it, it's going to disrespect you. You have to know that, all right? You cannot disrespect this powerful medicine. If it's used improperly, it can harm you. This is why one of my teachers always said that this is why you see when people smoke too many cigarettes, the harm that comes is a cancer from the tobacco, right? Smoke too much, you get this harm, you get black lungs, a sickness, when you should be using this for ceremonial uses, all right? That's just the way I was taught. You could have been taught something different from your keepers, your medicine keepers. But like I said, the one common goal, you approach the tobacco with positive energy. Just like you approach any of your plants, any of your plantings, because what you put out there is going to come back to you. And I seriously mean that when it comes to that, because there are times when I can feel my plants, but like, oh, talk to me, and I'm not talking to them. You gotta talk to them. You'll see them grow. And tobacco loves to be talked to. And when you talk to it, it will start singing and singing and singing. And you'll be like, wow, what's inside my head? All right, let's keep going on tobacco. You guys still with me? Still with me? Awesome. All right, I had to write down some notes today, because lately my forgettery is better than my memory lately. These are signs of getting kind of older, but that's fine. All right, so tobacco seeds. I assume everyone has their tobacco seeds. You see how small the tobacco seeds are? If you open up your packages and look at your tobacco seeds, just make sure you do not sneeze or have any wind, because if you do that, you will blow them everywhere. Trust me, I've done it about 10 times. And the seeds just blow because they're so small. They're the size of a pin, the head of a needle. So you probably have your tobacco in a package. I have mine in little seed cases that they are grown in. If you can see in my hand, that little seed case, that has tobacco seeds in it. One tobacco flower can have over 3,000 seeds in it. That's just one. Imagine for the whole plant, how many flowers are on the plant. That's a lot of seeds. It's a lot of seeds that you can hold on to and spread and trade with your friends, right? So I have this little thing right here. I'm gonna crack it open. And inside there are all these really small seeds. If I can hold it up for you, you can see them all spread over my hand. If you guys can see that, all those are little small seeds in there. Small seeds. So these seeds come from Evergreen Brickworks. So you need to know that I work at Evergreen Brickworks. I do the urban agriculture there. I do majority of the indigenous programming. So the programming I do there has to do with the gardens I take care of there. So I do all the indigenous agricultural techniques. What I grow there goes into my food program. So I do an indigenous food program as well. But not since COVID, we had to close everything down. And now we're doing everything virtually, which is kind of interesting. That's just a little side note so you guys know where I come from. Tobacco pod. Call it a tobacco pod. So that one tobacco pod with all those seeds. Do not sneeze or else they are gone. One great way you can actually sow your tobacco seeds when you're sowing your seeds at home. If you have any sand, nice sand, what I like to do is take the tobacco seeds, put it with the sand, mix it with the sand. If I have a salt shaker, put it in there and kind of shake it around, right? If not, just use your fingers to be sparingly. So, sorry, I have sand all over my fingers to put it back in there. So you have to know that tobacco is actually relatively easy to grow. Okay, it can grow nice and easily. Just make sure when we're starting to do it, when we're doing the actual planting, when you have your soil, if you have any soil right now, and if it's not damp, I would like you to dampen your soil. Whenever you're doing any kind of seeds, make sure your seeds inside, make sure you dampen your soil first. So that will help you not to overwater your seedlings. All right. If you overwater your seedlings, you can kill them, or when they start growing, you have a thing called dampening off. Okay. And the way to actually help correct the dampening off or dampening root is using cinnamon. But let's not go that far. Let's start and make sure we maintain at the beginning. Okay. So dampen your soil. Less water for your seeds. All right. So when you're doing your seeds, you always start your tobacco seeds indoors if you want to, or if you want to take a chance, you can actually take your seeds at this point, at this temperature right now. If you want to do it outside, you can actually go outside and put them in the spot you want right now. All right. But make sure it has enough sun. If your plant does not get enough sun, your plant's not going to do well. This is usually a time when I ask people out there, what are the 5 things that plants need to survive? But I'll just give you a hint. I'll just tell you anyways. So number 1 is air. So plants need air, so air circulation. If poor air circulation with your plant, it can cause a lot of health problems and not grow. It probably stunt its growth. Okay. So air, sun, needs that full sun or maybe part sun, but it does need sun for photosynthesis. What's after that? Water. Plants need water to grow. You have to know one thing about the difference between tap water and rainwater. Our tap water does come with a lot of chemicals in it. So if you're going to do tap water for your plants, what I suggest for people to do is either 1, fill up a jug with tap water, let it sit for 6 to 12 hours. All right. Or if you're going to boil some tap water, boil your tap water and let that sit. Or use rainwater. My gardens at Evergreen Brickworks, I use rainwater in everything. I do not use any city tap water. Because to me, it's this way. The rainwater I see as coming straight from the mother, right? Whereas city tap water is like going to a Shoppers Drug Mart, those big grocery stores, and seeing that, so you can try spring water as well. Spring water would be great. So I see city water as being the Infolac, the fake baby formula they sell in grocery stores, stuff like that. That's why I see city tap water on. So I always push for rainwater. Okay, remember, try rainwater if you can. If not, go for the city tap water, but let it sit for a minute. If you don't let your city tap water sit, what you're going to find, if this is my leaf of my plant, what you're going to find, the tips of your leaves are starting to turn brown. That's for the chemicals in the water. That's for not letting it sit for a while. And we don't want that for our tobacco, correct? We need our tobacco to grow nice, healthy, and strong so that we can actually utilize it for its purpose for us and for others. All right. Any questions yet? No questions yet? Any questions? You still with me? Remember, you can ask questions. See the browning edges. There you go.
What were the other 2 things? Did I miss
2 things.
that?
Oh, yeah, you got it. Awesome. So you're aware? Air, sun, water, soil, So they need some sort of soil, but there are plants that will grow without soil, so it's hydroponics. And the one last thing people always forget about when they're planting their plants is space. If your plants are planted too crowded together, they will cause problems growing, or if there's too much of a disease, the disease will go from one plant to the other, right? So you need space. All right? So air, water, soil, sun, space. 5 things plants need to grow. But like I said, some plants can be grown without soil, and that's going for hydroponics, which is something I'll show you when it comes to sweetgrass, how to have all your own hydroponic system in your own home to grow your own sweetgrass year round. It's lots of fun. It's about upcycling material. I'm about upcycling everything because I believe you should not spend too much on starting your garden. So a lot of things I will teach you are things that you will find in your own home to take care of your seedlings and get them ready for your garden outside. Is that cool? Awesome. All right. So you have your seedlings. Sorry, you have your seeds. You have your dampened soil. Do you have your containers with which you will be planting your seedlings in, your seeds in? Nice ones. So you guys have the square ones. I have the little circle. You guys have circle ones like this? All right. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Or if you have something plastic, if you're recycling, upcycling like I do, I've had these for 2 years. This is my last year with them. Upcycling that one. Those look great. Or what I also like to do, old egg cartons. If I'm doing a whole bunch of them at once, I'll use a whole egg carton like this. And the great thing about these is that this egg carton is made from recycled cardboard. When I'm ready, when the plants get past their true leaves, I can cut one of these squares off, and that whole thing can go straight into the garden where I'm going to plant the tobacco. And it's all going to break down. It's all great for the garden. So egg cartons. You can also start your tobacco seeds in exactly. Herbs or egg cartons are amazing. You can also use the egg shells after you're done cracking your eggs or making your eggs in the morning or baking. Try to keep some of them kind of long, but make sure you poke holes in the bottom of them, because if you do not poke holes in the bottom of them, your seeds will be swimming. If your seeds are swimming, they most likely are not going to germinate properly. All right. There's lots of things you can use within your home to make containers for your garden, for your starting of your seeds. You don't have to go there and buy all this stuff. You don't have to go there and spend all your money at Dollarama, because everyone knows you go in there thinking you're going to spend $5, but you end up spending $75 at Dollarama. You're trying to figure out what the heck just happened. How did I do that? Right? I know, I do it too. I always say 1 or 2 things. You come with these bags, like what did I do? So I make sure that I teach you how to do things at home. You can also use newspapers if you want to. See, save your containers. Save those black containers you get from takeout. Those are great seed starters. Just make sure you poke holes in the bottom, because there's no way for that water to come out. You're gonna have a soupy mess. And who wants the soupy mess? It's just your soil is just muck by then. Well, just put it outside and let it dry. Or maybe you want to make mud pies with it. I don't know. It's totally up to you. For me, I'll throw it back outside. All right. You're still with me. I'm loving this. So there's various things you can do to grow things in. Make sure your soil's damp. Make sure you talk to your seeds. Sing to your seeds if you want to, if you don't know any seed songs, but get them prepared to share your energy, right? Some people think I'm kind of, kooky when it comes to talking to plants, but I know it works. If you sit down and sit within your gardens, you can seriously hear them talk to you. They're not going to talk to you like some Disney movie, because that's not the way it works. They speak to you nice and gently. To me, it feels like it comes in waves from them to me, right? It's not like no Disney, like I said, no dancing echinacea plants going around dancing and talking to you. Honestly, I think that might freak me out. I ain't gonna lie to you. All right, you guys ready to plant? Any questions? All right, we're gonna start planting. So when I am planting my tobacco, I use these cups because we end up getting a whole bunch of them at work. So once again, I'm upcycling. So when you're doing your cups, so like these Jiffy Pot cups right here, see if you can find some that have no peat moss in it, because peat moss is not a renewable resource. For years they told us it was. Then we found out it's actually not. It takes that peat, that area, like thousands of years to regrow. So we're trying to do it without them. You can use coconut coir if you want to, which is really, really good for retaining water. You can use anything like that, but try your best not to use peat moss if you can. All right. That's just to keep us focused on making sure Mother Earth will be there for future generations. So I have my cups. All right. When I fill them, I'm gonna look at my soil. Do you have your soil? Anyone got any soil? Bags of soil? Show of hands. I feel like I'm mixing some sort of dark chocolate cake over here. Anybody want some? It's really gritty though. It's kind of gritty. So I always make sure I mix my soil. Like I said, remember it's dampened. So now I'm mixing it to kind of fluff it up. Because you don't want your soil to be hard. If your soil's too hard, when the seed starts to grow its roots, it's gonna have a difficult time finding its way through the soil to establish itself. All right. That means that the root, if the root's coming out this way, the root's gonna just bounce back up. Once the root's exposed to air, that plant is most likely going to die. We don't want that with our tobacco seeds. So I just fluff it up. Get a nice little fluff. It's all nice and fluff for me right now. Loamy, there you go. Nice loamy soil. You need that loamy soil. So now it's all nice and loamy. So you have to know about this soil right here that I made. I actually made this one from stuff I do at Brickworks. So using compost and using vermicompost, and I had topsoil. You need to know about topsoil when you're doing your gardens and you buy topsoil. Topsoil has no nutrients or minerals in it for the plants. It's just barren soil with nothing in it, right? Which is kind of sad.
So it's dirt.
So it's dirt. Exactly. We got that. So now what you do with that top soil or top dirt is you got to add to it. So you're adding your compost. You're adding your humus, not hummus, but humus, which is all the leaf matter that's inside of a forest. You're adding your organic matter to it. Maybe you're adding your fish meal or your bone meal, but you got to add to it. If you just plant in that top dirt, not soil, nothing's really going to grow for you. It's not going to grow. If it does, it's going to be very spindly. All right. So at Brickworks, with that, what I do, premixes are good. Premixes are good. Just know where your premix is coming from. What big company is actually making that premix? Because you can have a great premix, but maybe it's coming from Scott's. Maybe it's coming from a big corporation that's actually affecting the soil and destroying our wildlife. So just know where it's coming from. Okay. Like I said, this is vermicompost, compost from Brickworks, the topsoil. I've added some fish emulsion in here, kind of mix it all up, because that's what we have at Brickworks. And also a fluffy, nice, dark, rich color to it. Amazing soil. So when I'm filling my pot, I make sure I fill my pot up just to the first line. Okay, just to the first line. I do not go over that. So I'm filling it up, and I'm not going to pack it down. You don't want that. When you pack it down, you're compacting your soil. You need to be kind of fluffy. So this has a little bit of big chunks in it. What I'm going to do is take my scissors, kind of fluff it like this. Now all the big chunks are now gone. Nice and smooth. Well, smooth as soil can be. Not so rocky looking. So what I'm going to do with my seeds, this is kind of the difficult part when it comes to doing seeds. You can either do 2 seeds in this pot right here. So if I was doing 2 seeds, whoo, my voice wants to crack. I think I'm going through puberty again. Wow, I'm 49 years old. Not going through that again. So when you're doing, when I'm doing this pot right here, I like to use this pot for more than 1 seedling. So I'll just make a line down this middle. So half it once and half it again. And what I'll do is I'll plant 1 seed in each quadrant. That seed, its roots will be nice and straight as it can be going down. So when it's time to, when they get past their true leaves, it's time to transplant. All I have to do is basically cut and pull it apart. But make sure when you're transplanting, you got to make sure you keep the soil with the plant, with the soil with the root. If you do not, there's a high chance that a plant may die from that fresh soil. It needs that old soil with it. But we'll get to that later on. So part it in the middle, part it in 4 if you want to. And all I'm going to do is put 1 seed in each quadrant. That's it. And that's the difficult part. because they're very, very small. And I have these big fingers that will not just grab one, I grab like 6 at a time. So you kind of have to kind of sprinkle it over like that. Or if you feel confident enough, grab some to sprinkle them. If you have more than 4, just make sure later on when you thin them out, you save those smaller plants and put them in a bigger pot. So I'm gonna do my best to grab 1 seed each. I split it.
A damp popsicle stick works well to pick up a single seed and deposit it where you need it to go.
Awesome, thank you. Who said that? That was awesome. That's one thing I never knew. Thank you for that.
I think that
now
was
I'm getting
Brooke.
popsicle stick. All right, 1 seed each. That's just what I'm doing for this one. And I swear, sometimes I feel like I just have a piece of soil or something in my hand besides a seed. So I have that in there. Now, the temptation is to take your hands and pat it down. Don't do that. Let it stay. It's a temptation, trust me. I always want to go, okay, there you go, nice little plant. I want you to grow for me. Nah, it doesn't need that because your tobacco seeds, they need that light to germinate. They need sun to germinate. So when you pack it down like that, you're packing it beneath the soil. There's a hard time for it to get the sunlight that it actually needs. So it's very hard. Just put your seeds on, put it down, let it sit for a minute. Your next stage for this one is, if you have it, if you don't, maybe you have a clear plastic cup, is to put a little bit of plastic over top of it. So basically what you do is creating its own little greenhouse, is what you're doing. So here's my tobacco in that cup. Have my trusty scissors. I'm gonna cut. Nice size like that. I'm just gonna place it like this. I'm gonna get a rubber band and put it on there. But when you're doing that with your tobacco, you don't want the plastic too tight over top like that where you're actually suffocating it. You need to have some ventilation. Remember, it still needs air. So if you're not going to poke holes in a big enough holes for ventilation, what I suggest, it was for me or for anyone else, when you're putting anything around, I'm gonna have a rubber band around here, I'm gonna leave one end slightly open so the air can get in there. All right? Don't cover the whole thing up like this. If you do like that, make sure you poke holes in it. If not, you're gonna suffocate that plant. We don't want to do that with tobacco or any seeds actually, because they are sentient beings. So I have it nice and covered. So now what I'm gonna do with this one, when I'm watering, when it comes to, this is going to be very important, when you're watering, when this dries out, all right? You don't want it to dry out. So before, if you want to, if it's not gonna be your soil's not too damp, get a sprayer, a little spray water spray gun, or get a water gun. Maybe you have a super soaker. Something's got to work, you got to spray it, right? So what you want to do is you do not want the soil to dry out. So when before you really cover it, I should give it another spray. Give it a spray with the water, then cover it, let it set, then come back and give it a mist every single day. You got to make sure that topsoil does not dry out, because you have to remember that seed is actually just sitting on that topsoil. So you want to spray it. Keep it nice and damp and misty every single day, because the tobacco seeds take about 7 to 14 days to germinate. All right. So after you spray it, you spray. Where do you think you're going to keep it? Do you want to keep your tobacco in your fridge? Do you want to keep your tobacco on top of your fridge? Should you keep it underneath your table? Awesome. No to all of them. So what you're going to do is give it a nice sunny location. Because when it comes to tobacco needs heat. They need that constant temperature to keep growing. When temperatures fall below, when it gets cool, it'll affect the germination, which means that your tobacco can take a long time to germinate. So with the starting seeds, keep it in a nicely warm, not too hot windowsill, or underneath a grow light if you have a grow light, because seedlings do need a lot of light. When they get past their true leaves, so they're third or fourth leaves. When they start growing leaves, you can take the plastic off, then put them somewhere where there's more light. All right. So you can either put them on a full sun windowsill, or if you have a greenhouse, greenhouses are cool, put it in a greenhouse, or if you have a cold frame, you put it in a cold frame if you choose to.
What are your tricks for remembering to water?
My tricks are, I make sure every year I have a journal, a gardening journal. And I have to remind myself, if I'm thirsty in the morning, my plants are thirsty in the morning, especially if it's hot, right? So whenever I go see my plants in the morning, I make sure I walk by, I'm thirsty, I look, touch the soil. If it's too dry for my hand, then I water. If I'm going to be away for a long time, there's certain techniques you can do to fill the water up, let it sit for a while. Well, for a while. What word is it? What word is waddle? Wow, that's weird. For a while, and then let it drink the water by itself. So it's all about making sure you have a journal and a calendar. A calendar for your garden is actually brilliant, because all you do is mark down what you have to do week by week and follow that calendar. And on that calendar, put water in your water schedule. Make sure you have a water schedule. Make sure you have on a calendar or in your journal a fertilizer schedule for your tobacco plants, because you're going to need fertilizer. You're going to have to take care of them once they get past their fourth and fifth leaves. You have to really take care of them. I mean, it's great now that as seeds from seedlings, but as they get older and mature, even more, right? So, water, mist. Make sure you get a mister. Mist them every single day. When you wake up, mist. When you go to bed, mist, right? Ooh, there's a water reminder apps. Wow, I'm so far behind technology, it's not even funny. So there's an app for everything then. That's basically what you're saying. All right, cool. I gotta check this out. So if the water app, does it like ring a bell and remind you through your phone to water?
Yeah, you can set your settings if you want it to actually ring or not, or if it's just a buzz. But I'm a bad water drinker, so I am better with my plants actually. I probably overwater them, but yeah, it reminds you, like it just pops up on your phone as like almost like a text message. So you can use that for your plants maybe.
Yes, there you go. We're all on cell phones. There's a water app. I'm gonna check it out too. I'm gonna check it out and see, and yeah, just check it out for my plants, for all my plants. If everyone's using water apps, why not? Let's see what it's all about. But watering is always key for your plants. Watering is great for your seedlings. One thing with your tobacco seedlings, when you're watering, once they actually start growing in this pot or any pots you put them in, what you're gonna do is water from the bottom up. Don't water top down. Okay. Put this in a little jar. Put your water in there and let the soil be the wick for the water and pull the water up to the bottom of the plant of the seedling instead of watering down. It's a great way for the plants to drink when they need to drink.
And
Go ahead.
I heard that it also helps their roots learn to seek out the water, which makes them stronger overall. That's what I heard.
Yep, you got it. I'm trying to figure out where this voice is coming from. I can't see you. I love it. Absolutely love it. Yes, you got it. Stronger roots. Your roots will seek out the soil. Stronger roots, stronger soil, no erosion. Stronger plants, no erosion, more nutrients in your plants, more nutrients that stay in your soil. We have to make sure we take care of our soil. We have to make sure we take care of our watering of our plants. So when it comes to watering your plants, we said fertilizers. When you're watering any of your plants, if you are at home and you are, say you're boiling potatoes or vegetables, you have that leftover water, what will you do with it? Do you A, put it down the drain, or do you B, let it cool off and take that water and feed your plants with? Is that water?
Or C, make Three Sisters soup.
Woo! Three Sisters soup. Okay, you can do that too. You know, so that's great. So C, Three Sisters soup. But I like to use it. I like to use that boiled water for my plants. I'll save some for my plants outside as well, because it's full of nutrients, especially when it comes to your boiled potatoes. Your plants love that starch. I think it's one of the best things for them. Like, oh, you want that starch? You can have all the starch you want. I'll give you more starch if you want to, right? So we did that one. I'm not a big fan of fertilizer sticks. I've tried them. I really don't understand them. So I'll create my own fertilizers using what I have within the garden. A great fertilizer for people to use, of course, is banana peels. One great fertilizer. If you want to do your own homemade Miracle Grow with a W at the end, not the O. This is what I do in my gardens. So my homemade Miracle Grow recipe is 1 teaspoon of Epsom salts. So Epsom salts in gardening will become one of your best friends, especially if you love tomatoes and peppers. You want them to be nice, to be sweeter. You use Epsom salts when you're planting them. All right. So it's 1 teaspoon of Epsom salts, 1 tablespoon of baking soda. All right. You're going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of household ammonia. That you can find with your cleaning products at Home Depot, and I want to say Rexall drugs, but I really don't know. And then you're going to mix all that together in 3.65 liters of water, or a gallon of water. That is your homemade Miracle Grow. Has no chemicals in it. The household ammonia is what happens when nitrogen breaks down and turns into ammonia. Now you have that mixed with all that water. Just make sure you do not get the someone has vermicompost. Ooh, even better. If you don't have vermicompost, you don't have the Miracle Grow, do the vermicompost. When it comes to the Miracle Grow, make sure you use it once a month. It's great for your plants. Not as good as vermicompost. Vermicompost, I'll talk about that in a minute. But this is a great way to adding stuff for your plants that's more natural than buying the Miracle Grow. Because Miracle Grow, that blue stuff that you buy that's in that powdered form, is actually poison for your plants. It's actually forcing your plants to grow more flowers and have more fruit. Not fun being forced to do things. When it comes to fertilizer like vermicompost is one of the best things for your garden, for your plants, because you can put as much as you want on your plants, and your plants will not burn or die. They actually love it. Because vermicompost, if you don't know, is worm casting, which is actually worm poop, right? We have a vermicompost program at Brickworks where I tell people our worms are spoiled. They get the cream of the crop when it comes to food. But what the guys will do is they'll take all the food in and they blend it all into smoothies, and that's how they feed the plant, feed the worms. And we had like 26 bins of worms in a well-oiled machine that comes to vermicompost. And I use that a lot in my gardens, either in the chunky form or make it to compost tea, a vermicompost tea. If you're doing any kind of compost tea or vermicompost tea, make sure you once again are using rainwater and not city tap water. Because rainwater is going to have that little bit of the bacteria, the microbials that you're going to actually need, whereas city tap water has taken all of that out. All right. Always, if you can, try to do your best to use rainwater. You have to do your compost. If you have a compost bin or a compost, the other kind of compost, you use that as a fertilizer. All right. You can also use all the plants behaving badly, or people like to call weeds, as fertilizer. Just make sure you take all the flower heads off and the seed heads off, and you chop them up. Put those in cheesecloth. Let them sit in your rainwater for 12 to 24 hours. When you're doing your compost tea, make sure you add a little bit of molasses. Because the bacteria needs some sort of sugar. I do molasses or a little bit of maple syrup in mine, just kind of keep it going. And that with the weeds is, like I said, is another best way for using fertilizer. And that's the best way for us to use up all these plants that we say are behaving badly in our gardens, right? Use them up, chop them up, put them in cheesecloth, put them in water, let them set. After 6, 12, 24 hours, you strain the cheesecloth out and take all that cheesecloth stuff, put it back in your compost, and that goes back to that cycle. Take that leftover water, which is probably light green to a dark green. There's now your liquid fertilizer for your plants. You can take this and spray it all over your plants. But when you're spraying your plants, make sure that you are when you're using spraying your plants, make sure you are doing it in the morning and most likely on an overcast day. Because when you're spraying your plants, when it's sunny out, you have a high chance of burning your plants. Overcast day, not so much. And I always tell people when you're spraying your plants, make sure that you spray the soil as well. All right. So back to tobacco. What I'm
Isaac,
doing, yes.
can I ask a question before you get back to tobacco?
Mhm.
I'm just honoring that many of us, if not most of us, live in Toronto, and many of us, if not most of us, may not have outdoor space, and if we do, it's the size of a postage stamp. Can this stuff be done within our dwellings? And would you suggest harvesting rainwater to water even our household plants?
Yes. Okay. So all this stuff can be done in your dwellings. If you have a south-facing window, if you have a small spot, this can be done in your dwellings. I always tell people to get bypass it. If you don't have that window, buy a grow light. Now I see grow lights actually they're being sold at Dollarama now, which kind of blew my mind. So get a grow light. A grow light is beneficial. I live in a basement apartment. I have my lights are actually grow lights. They're grow floodlights because I have plants as well. My plants are surviving. So get a grow light. If you want to grow this inside your home, if you want to keep it growing for the whole year, you're going to need a grow light. All right. What's your second question again? Sorry, I got stuck on grow lights.
Harvesting rainwater to water our household plants.
Yes, I definitely say yes. If you can harvest rainwater for your household plants, please do. If that means getting a little bowl outside on your balcony, if you can get some, get it that way. Because your plants will look a lot better and feel a lot better when they have rainwater. I don't know if you've noticed when you're watering, I should say, with the tap water, you notice that your plants don't have that shine, they don't have that that energy feel if they're outside plants. And then once the rain comes and waters them, you look at your plants after, they're so full of life. They seem to be vibrant, more green, more colorful. It's that difference in the rainwater versus the city tap water. So if you can harvest rainwater and get some sort of rainwater for your plants, I say yes, go for it. If you can get a big bucket, and you have the big water bottles, fill the big bucket up with that, fill those water bottles up, put a cap on it, and put it aside and store it. I do that down here. I did that when I was living downtown in Kensington Market. One of my backyard was a complete concrete jungle, and I'd get the rainwater, get my different bottles, and I'd actually store it and put it to the side. Woohoo! It's raining all day tomorrow. Perfect time to plant some seeds as well. Because now it's raining. Now the weather's getting better. But mind you, the weather's actually good in the winter time as well. Especially this year, winter. We didn't really have a winter this year, which is actually kind of scary for all of us, because our plants, we need that rain. We need that water. We haven't really got it. So what's going to happen, right? Tobacco. Back to tobacco. So now I'm doing this big thing right here. The egg carton. I want to plant a lot of tobacco because I need to plant a lot of tobacco, especially for that. There you go. There you go. That's one way of doing it. All right, so I'm on tobacco again. The flat one, nice and flat. I found that I kind of had something sitting on it to kind of flatten a little bit too much for me. So what I'm gonna do is kind of pop the holes out a little bit more. I'm popping these holes out, nice and flat. With this one right here, because it's a little bit flatter than I want, I'm going to let these ones get to about 2 inches. Then once again, cut this off and get them ready for outside. One thing you should know about when you're taking care of your plants, your plant babies, because now they're your babies. I call my plants from seeds. Once they start growing, those are now my plant babies. When you're taking care of them and you're doing the seedlings, you're going to go from your seedlings and you want to plant them outside. There's a step you must take. Does anybody know what that step is? Before your seedlings that you're growing inside can go outside.
It's called hardening them off.
Yes. What does hardening off do? What's it good for?
Gets them used to the climate outside.
What happens if you don't harden them off?
They go into shock and they die.
Yep. Or the leaves get burnt and turn silver looking. So you want to harden your plants off, right? You want to maintain your plants. So when you're hardening your plants off, there's actually 2 ways I do it. You can do a whole week where you take your plants out from 2 to 4 hours every single day, but make sure you're putting them in the shade. Do not put them in the sun. If you put them in the sun, they're not going to harden off that much. So put them in the shade every single day, and then after 3 or 4, maybe 5 days, they'll be nice hardened off. Some plants might take a little bit longer, but a quick way to do it, I mean quick, is to take them out when there's overcast for more than 2 or 3 days. If you know some sort of rain's coming, there's overcast of 1 day, this will go for 3 or 4 days. On that first day, I would take all my plants out and just start planting them. Plant. So over those days of overcast, they start getting accustomed to the climate, right? You may have a few leaves that may die off, but the whole plant's not going to die off. Now the whole plant is now ready to stay outside and does not have to be covered. That's just a quick method that we would do back home on the farm, on a homestead. If you're like me when you're younger and you kind of procrastinated from putting the plants out there, and your grandparents are saying, you were supposed to do that a couple days ago, but you do it kind of fast, and it still works. Then your grandmother's telling you, I don't think your grandfather should have showed you how to do that. But it's got to work, right? You'll see that I'm a hands-on when it comes to the soil. I love to get my hands really in there and touch the soil, because there's so many healthy benefits from touching that soil and feeling that from Mother Earth. And then sometimes you smell it. It smells so rich. So if you ever have brickwork, you'll probably see me in this ground the soil and smelling it. It smells good. I want to make sure I know it has the right smell, because if you don't have doesn't have the right smell, it smells too much like fertilizer, or maybe it smells too much like sheep manure. You have to add something else to it.
I have a question. So you said when they're about 2 inches tall is when you would transplant them?
Mm-hmm. Because you're moving from one location to another location, I'm going to want you to get those seeds to get a little bit bigger and stronger, so they can move properly with you. If they're too young, they have a higher chance of dying on you. So if you start now, they'll be more than 2 inches. They'll have more than the true leaves. They'll be a lot stronger to move on. All right.
It's so funny for the timing, because that's exactly what I had in mind. I had more of the little pots. I have some dirt to get started with. So
right.
Some
Perfect.
soil.
Soil.
Awesome. You guys got that. Soil.
So I'm wondering, like, when you're planting, like, because when you get the seeds, like, and you said you would plant 4 seeds for tobacco in the cup.
Yeah,
What
small pot.
what would you do for, like, if you were doing like herbs like basil, or even flowers like chamomile? Like, do you still follow that rule, or do you put more?
I would always, for these size cups, I always follow that rule. Because what I'm trying to do is utilize the space, utilize as many seeds I can get out of this one size cup, right? Because most places will what they'll do is just do one seedling or one seed. Then you have all the space. But for me, divide it in 4. Usually separate it, then plant it that way. Utilize what you have. For herbs, same thing. Unless that plant called for it to be planted by the seed called for it to be planted by itself, right? Like those big bean seeds, you can't do 2 big bean seeds inside here. You can do 2 small ones, right? The big ones, no.
I have a question, Isaac. It's not about these plants per se, but it's about my one plant.
Okay.
I have a lemon tree, and like I have like a pretty large window, and it's south facing, so it does get a lot of sun, and I was able to germinate it, and it has started growing significantly since I actually put it in a bigger pot. But for some reason, sometimes the larger leaves keep drooping down. I was gonna say, what would you recommend? I'm gonna do like a banana water mixture and
Yeah.
bring it up that way. But is there anything else that you would recommend that I do for it?
Well, you're on the right track with the water treatment for it. Does the pot have any holes? Are you watering above or letting the water come from below? If I can speak, be great today. Are you sitting in water so the soil wicks up, or are you watering above it, down onto the leaves?
The pot that I have it in now, because the size I needed, it doesn't actually have a hole, so I had to put the rocks. So I am doing it from above.
Okay. Okay. You said droopy big leaves.
Yeah,
Have you added?
it's drooping a little right now.
Uh-huh. Have you added any soil amendments to your new soil?
I do add like these special biodegradable like peanut things, and they're supposed to be like healthy plant food. But like it's okay right now. Like these are them, these two.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these bigger leaves, sometimes they'll really like droop down, like almost touching the pot.
Wow, I've never had that problem before.
Yeah.
Now you have me thinking.
The funny thing is the leaves aren't yellowing either.
Right. To me, it seems like one of two things. Either the leaves are at the point where they're too big and they're probably going to die off and have more leaves grow in that area.
Okay.
Or you have wilt. So if you have wilt, what I would like for you to do is baking soda is going to become your best friend. I'd like for you to take a little bit of baking, about a teaspoon of baking soda to 3 cups of water. I just want you to spray some in the spray bottle and spray the soil a bit. Let's see if that baking soda will help your leaves perk up and get the required nutrients in a water that it actually needs inside there.
Okay, I'll do that Monday because I literally watered it this morning.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm liking this ask Isaac gardening questions sort of thing.
just bouncing back to growing chamomile.
Yes.
And I haven't tried this, so take it for what it's worth.
Yep.
I have seen people have great success by using a chamomile tea bag that they have soaked, not used for tea, but they have soaked, and they plant that in soil.
Really?
Because it's chamomile flowers inside the chamomile tea bag. And so as long as you're not boiling them, you're not killing the seeds. And yeah.
Hey,
And
I'm
I'm totally gonna do that experiment. Seeds versus tea bag.
Yeah. And if you can't water from the bottom, if you take a piece of like cotton twine and put a bowl or something slightly higher than your pot, it will wick water into your soil rather than you having to water from the top. That's a great tip if you're ever like you need to go on a trip for a week. Yeah, works like a charm.
It's I have not used that method, but I've heard people use that method before. What I do, like for me, what I'm doing, if I'm leaving, my pots that have my household plants in it, I have clay pots, so I do clay pot irrigation. So clay pot irrigation is something I've learned from my grandfathers. Something we've always done for thousands of years down in Southwest Ontario. What it is using 2 terracotta pots. So what I did at Brickworks, we had all these little small terracotta pots. So terracotta or clay is permeable when it's put together, right? So this right here, if it's a terracotta pot, if I put this in the ground, it's permeable. The water's inside here, the soil is dry. The water will slowly move to the soil. If soil is damp, the water will stay inside here until it's needed. So what I did for my plants at home, in my large containers was I found small terracotta pots that were this small. Took the 2, one's gonna be top, one's gonna be bottom. The one at the bottom, make sure you cover that hole. That hole that's inside there, it's got to be covered. because this part right here is going to go inside the soil as well. So now that's covered. This is going to be the top one. I glued this right here. We use Gorilla Glue, put them on like this, let that set. So now that's the top of the hole still open. This is the bottom. The hole should be closed. This whole thing now goes inside your soil. When you water through the top right here, in this hole right here. And all it does, let it set. Like we said, heard earlier, the root system, the follow goes where the water is. The root system will go where the water is right here. You will see these on my gardens at Brickworks and in my household, my plants here as well, my planters here as well. Because sometimes you will forget to water if you're too busy, right? When you water this, when I'm doing my gardens, I will water every 4 days. That's it. The plants drink when they want to drink. If you don't have the 2 terracotta pots, you can actually take, if you have the saucer, say this is a saucer that comes with the pot, glue this, flip it over. Flip it over just like that. So now it has the hole. There's your hole that you put the water in. The bottom part is glued to this. That whole thing now goes inside your soil. What you're going to do when you put it inside your soil is make sure you have at least 1 inch that you can actually see, especially when it's outside, right? Or you can do like my grandmother used to do. My grandmother used to paint these pink, so she can actually see them when she goes inside her garden. Okay. When you have these inside your garden outside, because of the evaporation from the sun, is to make sure you have some sort of covering over this hole. If you don't, you have to water probably every 2 to 3 days because it's going to evaporate out of there. All right. So another great way to always have your plants watered when you're going to go away and have your plants drink when they need to drink. Like I said, it will save you a lot of time. The one lady was one of my volunteers at Brickworks. She didn't believe me until she was having problems at her work with her gardening, so her problems with her gardening, with her watering. She did this method and came back the next year and said, "Oh my God, that works. It works like wonder." I said, "Yeah." I said, "We kind of know what we're doing. We've been doing this for thousands of years. This is not just not now. This information is coming forward." I said, "It works. It works. It works." But there's other. Yes.
Oh, sorry. I
No, go ahead.
interrupt.
No,
No, I didn't want this question to get lost into the mix. So Angelique had put a question in the chat asking about soil preference. You know how you see those pH balance kits or testers or like, are they good to have or use or?
They're good to have when you're planting certain plants. If you want to know the scientific side of what your pH balance needs to be for your plants, and you want to document it, like pH balance of 5.8 for tobacco for loamy soil. Loamy soil is the best soil to have out there. If you're using soil from your family's area, make sure you know if there's any soil bacteria in that area before you do anything. If there is, once again, I'm going to tell you, baking soda is going to become your best friend. Baking soda and water. If you think there's anything inside, like maybe there's powdery mildew or something like that inside your soil that you're bringing over from one county to the next, do the baking soda trick. So once again, baking soda and water. You can do, if you want to do a tablespoon or a teaspoon of baking soda, I would do a teaspoon of baking soda to 3 cups of water, or a tablespoon to a liter of water. All right, spray that soil, mix it around, spray that soil. It's gonna get rid of some of that. It's gonna get rid of most of that stuff for you, especially if it's like powdery mildew. Spray that soil, because I think you should be able to bring soil from your homestead to another homestead for certain plants, and to bring that connection. All right. So baking soda is your best friend when it comes to your soil that you have brought over. Baking soda is best friend for certain soil contaminants. Baking soda is going to be best friend for powdery mildew. I can tell you this right now. Powdery mildew will happen in your garden. To get ahead of that, baking soda, Dawn dish soap, a few drops of Dawn dish soap and water. Spray, 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 spray. Spray your soil, spray the stems, spray underneath the leaves and on top of the leaves. On this one, you're going to have to spray when it's overcast on top of the leaves. Because when you see that powdery mildew does not look great, and powdery mildew will take over. If you have too much powdery mildew on your plants and you take off that leaf from your plant, You cannot put it in your compost because all you're doing is you're going to spread it from compost to soil again. It's got to go in your garbage. That leaf is no longer good. You don't want to have powdery mildew every single year. All right. Any other questions? I'm loving this Ask Isaac Garden questions thing. I'm still doing my tobacco. You see my tray?
Looks
The
good.
tray's still going after talking. I can do two things at once. All right. I put seeds in the beginning up here. I added some more soil down here, so I put some more seeds down here. So the seeds that I'm using, like I said, are from Evergreen Brickworks. Once again, small seeds. My seeds from there are grown on site. So all the gardens, my gardens there are pesticide-free and organic seeds. I make sure that every single year, like I said, I do not use city tap water on my garden beds at all. One thing you need to know about our soil here in North America, our soil has been destroyed. So a lot of the soil has no nutritional value for plants. The reason why it has been destroyed is because we've had too much big farm business taking over, and big seed companies like Monsanto and Syngenta taking over and destroying our farmlands. So now, when we are gardening, this is why we need to start adding more compost, more organic matter to our garden soil, to bring back that nutrient that was available in our soil. If you think about it, think about the fruits and veggies that we're eating right now. A lot of it, when you eat it, you think, oh wow, when I was a kid, this actually used to taste like an apple. Oh, this used to taste like a strawberry. Oh, this used to have a taste to it. Now it doesn't have that taste. It doesn't have that taste because our soil has been destroyed. If we have horrible soil, we're going to have horrible plants, which are not going to feed us, but we're not going to get any proper nutrition or feed us properly from it. So we have to go back to basics. We got to look at our soil. One thing you need to know about tobacco basically can be grown on with any kind of soil. And one thing we learned growing tobacco back home is that tobacco would love to be planted in the same tobacco spot year after year after year if you can. Tobacco, you also have to know, tobacco leaves is also a great insecticide for our plants. All right. So if you don't have any insecticide, you can use tobacco leaves or tomato leaves for your insecticide. What you can do with that, with your tobacco, any of the leaves, pull your leaves off, say thank you to the plant first. Thank you for giving us a leaf. Thank you for growing for us. Let the plant know your intent. You're going to take a leaf. So if you have tobacco, drop your tobacco for the plant. If you do not have tobacco, I was taught by my grandfather's that if you don't have tobacco, take a piece of your hair off or take some of your spit. And where you pulled off the leaf, you take your spit and you put it on that place where the broken leaf comes off. So you're actually adding your nutrients to the plant and you're actually helping it scab over so it does not get any sort of disease on that plant. All right. Now that you've done that, you said thank you. You have your leaf. What you're going to do, chop the leaf off nice and finely. Chop them up, chop them up, chop them up. Take your cheesecloth, take your leaves, either your tobacco leaves or your tomato leaves, put them in a cheesecloth, have your bucket of water. So if I had a cup of the leaves in my hand, I would do about a liter of water, maybe a liter and 0.5 of water. Put that inside there. Make sure it's rainwater though, not your city tap water. Leave it inside there. Add maple syrup if you want to, or molasses. I always add maple syrup because that's kind of yummy. Put it inside there. Let it aerate if you can. If you can't let it aerate, let it sit. What you're going to do is shake it, or give a good shake, add some air to it, and then use that to spray your plants. Spray when it's not sunny outside, or overcast, and I'm going to spray the whole plant, top to bottom, and even the soil. That is a natural insecticide for your plants. That's a natural insecticide that our community would have used for thousands of years before the onset of these chemical fertilizers or chemical insecticides that are doing more harm than good. When you think about it, who the heck wants to spray Roundup on your tobacco plants? I know I don't, because that's defeating the purpose. You have this beautiful plant growing that we're going to use for ceremonial uses, and we're going to use to say thank you to the creator, to respect other people, but you're going to spray Roundup on it. You're going to spray this man-made chemical that's actually doing more harm to you because you're spraying it. Most times when you're spraying with no mask on or any protective gear, you're just spraying. We don't want that. We go natural. We do tomato leaves. We do the tobacco leaves. and use it that way. You can use some. You can also use some. You can also use. I've heard of that. If you have neem oil, so neem oil does not come. Neem tree is not from here. It comes from South Asia. If you have neem oil, you can actually use that. But be careful with neem oil, because some neem oil is supposed to be illegal to have as of 2012. But you can still find neem oil in beauty supply shops. And your plants will like it. But when you're using neem oil, one of the problems I find with neem oil is that neem oil, when you're using it on your plants, it will kill even the beneficial bugs. And it will even kill your flowers. So you have to be very, very careful when you're using neem oil and how to use it. If you're going to use it for spray, try your best not to spray as much as a plant as you can, because there are some beneficial bugs that we need for these plants, right? And neem oil will just go straight across and kill them. Aha, good question. Why don't you have a filter on your tap water?
I will get one now.
You know what I want to do at Brickworks this year? And I want to build an actual filter to show how it goes from like rock, charcoal, sand, like that. But actually use use the rainwater and filter it out that way.
Also, if anyone wants to have spring water, go to findaspring.com. They're not necessarily in Toronto, but if you're ever up north, grab some containers. That's what I try to bring some, and my plants and pets. So Find a Spring is really great. I was just wondering about planting the tobacco. You said they could be planted almost anywhere. I have above ground planters, and then I have trees that have cedar. So the cedar, because the trees it becomes really acidic over the years because of the plants. Is that someplace that tobacco would be a good plant for, or should I try to find another space in my garden?
I would find another space actually.
Okay.
I'm afraid of that too much, to the acidic factor of that soil.
It is. It's a difficult spot there.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what plant you can actually plant there to counterbalance that.
It's been a work in progress over the years.
Say it again?
It's been a work in progress over the years.
Okay.
To figure out that space.
Okay. Is there any clover growing? Any clover in your ground around there?
Yes, sometimes, and also lily of the valley comes up. Garlic does well.
As it would. Any nodding onion?
Never tried.
Okay. Try nodding onion. Just make sure your nodding onion is not around any of your strawberry plants. If you have strawberry plants or any plants that you want to get pollinated, because bees don't like to smell the nodding onion. Nodding onion is actually one of our traditional foods, our traditional plants here. Nodding onion. What it is that when you see the onion plant growing, usually it's growing. You see the flower up here, and so it goes like that. Opens, flower seeds. This one grows, nods.
Okay.
Nodding. N-O-D-D.
Nodding.
Like I'm nodding off to sleep.
Not nodding. Nodding.
Not nodding.
Nodding onion. Okay.
Nodding. All right.
Something good to try.
Blueberries also like some acidic soil. Something else. I can't remember. Okay, so we're talking, having fun, talking gardening stuff, talking about pelicans down in southwestern Ontario. I just want to see their neck. That's what I
want to remind us of this question. How do you deter squirrels and rabbits?
Ooh, okay, so deter your squirrels, your rabbits and stuff with dog hair. You can do that if you want to. That's totally fine. Just know that you probably they get more dog hair. Just like if you can use dog hair, or if barbershops are open, use human hair, because it has a stronger scent to deter them from your garden. If you don't want to do cayenne pepper, because people do use cayenne pepper to deter the squirrels, but people think it's kind of cruel to have cayenne pepper for the squirrels to bite into and rub in their eyes. It is. It's cruel, because if you think about it, do you want cayenne pepper in your eyes, in your mouth? If you think you're getting like a good treat, it burns, right? So what I do is in my gardens, I have all my water containers out, have my clay pot irrigations going. You'll see 1 or 2 clay pot irrigations that are actually opened. So I have it like this. That's open like that. The bottom's closed off, but all this is open to the air, open to the elements. I fill this with water. Every morning I come over, fill it with water, let it sit there. Because when the squirrels are coming to your garden and you see them bite something and leave it, bite something, eat it and leave it, they're thirsty. They need that water. So they're going to your plants and go, oh, that tomato's nice and juicy. I don't want that tomato. I need that moisture. Walk away. If you put a bowl of water out there, it'll help deter them from going to your plants. Because you want to deter them. There is, I'm gonna tell you this right now, unless you're gonna use some sort of electrical fence, unless you're gonna get some sort of salt gun, there's no 100% proof way of keeping Mother Nature away from your garden. Because if you really, really, really think about it, our gardens are a smorgasbord for them. They have everything they want in one spot. It is their grocery store. So I do my best to plant more and try my best to deter them as much as I can. If you're outside in your garden, if you want to deter them, like I did one year at Brickworks, what I did, I've never done the Irish Spring soap thing yet, but I heard it does work. Because Irish Spring it's a strong smell, is it not? I mean, it can probably keep humans away.
So how do you use that? Like, what do you do with the Irish?
So you can take the Irish Spring and
grate it up.
You grate it.
Yeah, you can grate it on top of your soil. Don't like pack it down into it, but yeah, just like lightly grade some nice bits on top, and then they'll leave it.
So how is Irish Spring made?
Chemicals. It's the chemical show.
Yeah.
That would be my question. How is it made? So if it is made of chemicals, what exactly are you doing to your soil then?
Yeah, I think it's different if you like have a backyard and stuff, because then I know when you have a bigger backyard, what people did was just like literally line the bars of soap along like of where their plants were, and that's also really ideal. But yeah, like if you have like plants, grading it on top might not be the best idea, but it does deter a lot of animals from going after your stuff. Is
it the smell? Do you think the smell of the Irish Spring is deterring them?
Yeah, definitely. It's such a pungent smell.
Yeah.
It's like, even like in the dollar store, if you pass the aisle of where it is, you can smell it pretty well.
Maybe you take it and you put it in those little bags that garlic come in or onions come in. Those perforated bags. Maybe you put those inside, put the Irish Spring inside those, and have that like little sachets around your garden. Or maybe you take it and instead of using the plastic, maybe you use burlap. Put it in burlap. Because if it's just a smell, then there's no need for it to be directly onto your soil. Put it in something that you put it in little spots around to deter them that way.
Or random thing
I love it.
for women for upcycling. If you ever have pantyhose and there's like rips in them, recommend that too, because they rip so easily.
Question, would human hair also repel other animals? Like I'm thinking like groundhogs or things like that.
Yes, because it's a smell of humans. It's a smell of humans that they're like, oh, I smell humans, I gotta go away. I smell two-leggeds, run away. Apparently it works really great for rabbits. The smell of human hair. I have not tried the human hair yet. Let's be frank. Let's be 100% real. I'll tell you this right now. I had a rabbit problem at Brickworks the first year. I love rabbits. They're amazing, but they love my garden a little bit too much. So what I did was I kind of had to coax them out into the open, because a mother hawk and her hawklings decided they wanted to scout the area every single day. I went, I'm not going to hurt you, rabbit, but if you happen to come over here and eat these greens that are out in the open, you're going to be in trouble. And one day I just happened to come by and there was Mama Hawk.
Oh, Isaac.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I was just like, hey,
Nature.
over here.
I love
It was
to
a-
eat rabbit, so I was even thinking something different.
That's
So
what I was thinking.
Yeah, I was thinking more like rabbit stew and then using the
Going back to people who wear pantyhose and getting runs in them, they're a good thing to hang your winter squashes and onions in. You hang your
Oh.
squash, tie a knot, hang a squash, tie a knot, and it allows air. You hang it from the ceiling and it allows air to circulate. It does not look cute. Like, I will not even pretend like it looks
Okay.
cute. But you know, it works.
You guys are fun. Oh my goodness, I love this.
Question.
And
For the hair, what do you do with the hair? Do you can you do like the baggies? Like you'll have baggies of hair and Irish Spring soap like around? Or how does that work?
You walk around, it rains, you wash the hair with the Irish Spring.
every
So what I would do, I would take the hair, and I'd actually take the hair and sprinkle it around the plants. That's what I would do with the hair. Because the hair will break down, go back into the soil, right?
My
if you want
neighbors
to-
are gonna think I'm so weird.
Wait till you put the fish heads in your garden. Ooh. Then people think you're really weird. When I lived in Kensington Market, I had a container garden. So everything's in container because of a concrete slab. The way I was taught growing up, we use fish heads in our gardens, even in our containers. I saw nothing wrong with it. So all my big containers, if you dug in them, you see fish carcasses, stuff like that. My neighbors were like, "You're gonna bring rodents here." I said, "No, rodents are already here. I'm just gonna make sure that they're down enough that they don't smell them." But it works, right? Just like when you have your friends over and they're digging the garden for you, and they pull a fish tail, and they pull up the fish skull, and they're like, "Well, what the heck's going on here?" I'm like, "Oh, fertilizer." That's what's happening.
Did you use the fish head as a fertilizer or a deterrent?
That's fertilizer.
As a fertilizer, okay.
It was deterrent for the two-leggeds. All right. So my plastic wrap. Still gonna go back to my tobacco seeds though. But keep asking questions, keep talking. I love this. This is so freaking amazing. I love it so much. My plastics gotta go over the top of this because gotta keep it nice and warm, right? Cool temperatures mean they will not germinate fast. No cool temperatures for your tobacco. Need to be nice and hot. Not too hot where you're drying it out. We have to mist like all day long. Hot enough so the seed can germinate. You have to make sure that your seed is not compacted into the soil. Your seed's got to stay on top of the soil because your seed needs that sunlight from grandfather sun to grow, right?
We
My
did have a nice.
Go ahead.
We did have another question. I'm not sure if we got
Go
to
for
it. Sinclair asked a question. I don't know if you want to jump on and just say it.
Go for it.
I can read
Yep.
it out.
Read it out if you can.
I don't want to like stop you from using your voice. So
no problem. I can jump in. Yeah, I was just on the topic of deterrents. I was wondering if you had any suggestions for like natural deterrents for like insects and specifically mealybugs. I had some mealybugs on some kale last year, and yeah, I'm just wondering if you have any suggestions for that.
Okay. So when I'm doing certain sprays, like if I'm not doing the tomato leaf spray, or not doing the tobacco leaf spray for insecticide, what I will do next is use water. So I'm doing about 1 liter of water. For this, you can actually use city tap water. So 1 liter of water, I'm going to use about anywhere from a half a cup to a cup of 70% rubbing alcohol. It has to be 70% rubbing alcohol. Don't go higher because it's going to dry your fingers out and dry your skin out. Stay at 70. If you go lower than 70, it's not going to be effective. The reason why we're going for 70 is because that alcohol at that strength is going to eat the soft bellies and skins of those insects. And that's what you want. It's not going to kill the plant. It's going to kill the bug. All right. When the alcohol hits the plant, it's just going to dissipate into the air. But you're also going to have to use, I always push Dawn dish soap. The only reason why I push Dawn dish soap, because that's the dish soap they use for taking oil off of the birds and stuff, the cotton oil spills. The other detergents don't do that. So I use Dawn. So I'll do about 3 to 4 drops of Dawn. If it's not enough, do about 6 drops. Do not give it a really hard shake, or it's going to cause all the foam. Kind of just go shift it back and forth like that. Take that and spray it on your plants. Spray the insides, undersides, above the stem, and be sure to spray that soil. All right.
Sorry, how much rubbing alcohol to 1 liter of water?
I would do a half a cup to a cup. All right. There's also the tried true method of picking everything off with your fingers, but that gets kind of gross. Because all you're doing is picking and squishing bugs. After a while, it gets caught in your nails. And you kind of don't want that in your nails. Kind of gross. I'm not gonna lie to you, kind of gross. Like I said, neem oil is a good natural insecticide, but neem oil does not discriminate when it comes to bugs. It will kill them all. And neem oil will destroy your flowers if it gets on your flowers. But it is effective. How was that? Was that good? Yoo-hoo!
What are your thoughts on diatomaceous earth?
As long as it's food grade, it's good in your garden. I have not used it a lot. I do know that I do have big bags of it at work, but I have not used it a lot in the garden. It is good for your garden. Not intentionally. Usually it's just buckets that are left out. But growing up, we would have, my grandfather at the old homestead, he always had these oak barrels at the side of the house. That was his rainwater. And one year I got in trouble because I was letting my pet snakes swim in the rainwater. He caught me. I had a great big fox snake. I was dunking it in the rainwater, letting it swim back up. So go to any if you really want to buy neem oil, if you're ever downtown Toronto, Little India, it's everywhere. It's cheaper in Little India. If you go to Shoppers Drug Mart, same size bottle of Shoppers Drug Mart can be this big, cost you like $24. Little India is going to cost you $5. All right. Or if you get it ordered in, you can actually order it in from Quebec to Ontario or gardening. Just hint, just letting you know. Hint, hint.
And then like springboarding, because you're still working away on your tobacco. We also got sage seeds.
Yep.
So are these, they're white sage, are they gonna harden off the way that desert sage does, or is it gonna stay softer like our culinary sage does? Okay, or is it going to be more of a prairie sage?
The white sage seeds you have, I'm going to say, I think they're the Hopi white sage seeds, I believe. No? You see that plant? Okay, that's Hopi white sage.
Yeah.
So that plant right there, yeah, that plant right there does not grow native here in Canada.
Okay.
So with that plant, what you're going to have to do is put it in a bigger pot and bring it in the wintertime.
Okay.
Bring it out for springtime, or else that plant is going to die on you come wintertime. Sorry, why am I pointing? That's kind of rude. The plant will die on you in wintertime, unfortunately. It can be hard to germinate from seed. It will germinate, can be hard to grow. So the sage, that's Hopi tobacco sage. So once again, put it in a bigger container, bring it in and out of your house. Do not put it outside and expect it just to survive the winter, because it will die on you. As to our prairie sage, which is native to here and can stay outside, right?
Right, but the prairie sage's leaves are like itty bitty.
Right.
Right, because the prairie sage, I know some places they call it Dakota sage.
Yep.
The leaves are itty bitty, and it's a really soft sage, very different aroma to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Doesn't have more of a. It has the prairie sage to me has more of a mugwort smell.
Agreed.
That's what it has like to
Agreed.
me.
Yeah.
Whereas the Hopi sage has that. I don't know how to describe it. It just that the smell of that one just hits me in every single energy level of my body. That's how I can describe it.
Medicinally, the prairie sage,
Mhm.
if you have a headache, if you take 2 or 3 leaves and you chew on them, it will lessen the severity at the very least, if not eliminate your headache.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Good.
Too,
Ooh,
if you put
no.
them in a very hot bath and like rub the leaves together, it releases the oils in your bath, and then you can it helps relieves like body tension too.
Here. So if there are any more questions for Isaac around planting and seed sowing, I had one in the chat about just repotting our little seedlings here.
So you're going to want to get a bigger pot than what you have for those. I'm thinking that's sweetgrass, correct? Did you have in that one? All right. So sweetgrass, you're going to want to get a bigger pot unless you're going to plant it outside. You're going to plant it outside. You're going to make sure it's in a marshy area. It likes to have wet feet. With sweetgrass, what I do, if I want to have sweetgrass all year round, when you have your pot, right? This is a small one, go into a bigger one. When you take it out, take the sweetgrass, if it's had the sweetgrass like that, put it between your hands like that, kind of crush this a bit to loosen the soil. I tap it, pull that off, you have your whole plant. Then you have your planter that has your soil in it. Put your sweetgrass inside like that, add your soil around there. But make sure for your sweetgrass, you have a bigger planter for it because it's going to grow and grow fast. What I'm going to show you with the sweetgrass, when we do the sweetgrass teachings, the sweetgrass planting, I'm going to show you about using seeds for sweetgrass, why you should and should not use seeds for sweetgrass, because they do take them 2 to 5 years to grow, to germinate, kind of a long time, unless you plan on being in that spot for a while, and why you should actually take your sweetgrass, your already seedlings, and learn how to propagate that way, how to take the rhizome, to get down to the rhizome, take the rhizome, put that in the soil, and then you have your sweetgrass growing quickly that way, transplanting that way. I would always.
You're going to teach us how to do that?
Yep.
You. Oh.
It's what I do. It's what I'm called here on earth to do.
I love it, and I appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you. Make sure you try not to use plastic to keep your stuff in when growing. Try your best not to use plastic if you can. I know it's kind of hard because plastic's everywhere, right? But try to get, if you're doing your sweetgrass, you can get a terracotta pot. You take that pot and you soak that pot in water, let it soak in water for a while so that the pot's nice full of water, and that will leach into the soil. Just like the clay pot irrigation. Sweetgrass seeds take 2 to 5 years to grow. What's going to happen with your sweetgrass you plant from Richter's? Most likely next year, you're going to see a seed head grow. So it's probably going to grow a seed head next year. It's going to look, you're going to think, what the heck is that? Is that wheat? Nope, that's sweetgrass. Let that dry, go where you want sweetgrass growing for next year and put that down, walk away, let Mother Nature take its course. When it comes to your white sage, I can also show you how to take your stems of your white sage and transplant those and propagate those to make your own other versions of that white sage. So you have multiples of that one plant growing at one time. All right. Remember, it's also be used as stuff in your household. So cinnamon is going to become your best friend for these plants. A nice tasting spice we have, cinnamon, cinnamon lattes. Ooh, it's amazing for insecticide and fungicide. Remember we talked about dampening off, how when you're watering too much of your seedlings and you get the brown spot down here and start dying, cinnamon prevents that. If you sprinkle cinnamon around your seedlings, it prevents that fungicide, it prevents that dampening off.
So should we do that as a way of like prophylactically?
Yep.
See, that's what I'm going to do because I get that problem all the time.
There you go. Cinnamon. Cinnamon!
Isaac, I have a question. Do you know what kind of seeds the tobacco seeds are? Like, I know you said you have Hopi sage. Is it also Hopi tobacco?
Your tobacco seeds, because all wild tobacco comes from Hopi tobacco. So it's going to be Hopi tobacco, but it can be grown up here.
Okay.
Because our wild tobacco is Nicotina rustica, the Latin name. And they say it originates from that area.
Okay, interesting.
Okay? You have to also know about tobacco plants are very, very resilient. Last year, even though COVID was happening, I grew these beautiful tobacco plants. Someone actually came and snapped one of them off, right? And my volunteers like, oh my God, it's gonna die. I said, no, watch this. I just grabbed a hold that snapped off part and went back into the soil and walked away. Next week, the leaves bounced back and it started growing again.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's a resilient plant. It's a resilient plant. It's an amazing plant. Amazing, amazing. Just, you also have to know that when you're touching tobacco leaves and it's all nice and sticky on the leaves, that's nicotine. It gets all over your fingers. Your fingers turn like this brownish green. And if you don't smoke cigarettes, well, you're smoking now.
I had no idea.
Yep. Lots of different kinds of tobacco. I used to grow Virginia tobacco at Brickworks, which is a tobacco that gets like 10 feet tall. It has leaves as long as my arm.
And prairie sage, where can we find seeds or seedlings for that?
You can find seedlings. You can find it at Richter's Herbs. Richter's
Okay.
Herbs will become your best friends when it comes to a lot of our native plants.
Okay.
I love them because they are pesticide free and they have such a wonderful energy around them.
And yeah.
I saw a question up there about
There's a
it getting
question.
cool at night and you want to put your plants on top of the heater. So
Yeah. So, oh, sorry. Yeah, you can read it. No, it's fine.
I saw it. It's like I saw it. So here's one thing that I actually do when it comes to below heating. Heating mats are actually going to become your best friends because a nice temperature soil causes your seeds to grow faster. So if you can't afford a heating mat, because heating mats can cost you like from $35 to $150, and quite frankly, our money needs to go somewhere else. So what you can do is go to Home Hardware or any of those big box stores, any store that sells those rope lightings, the rope lighting for outdoors, for holidays, for Christmas. Don't get the LED ones. They don't give off enough heat. Get the older ones. They give off enough heat. Get a board.
Halogen.
Put some wood on your board and kind of stick it on a board or stick it underneath your planters. Then turn it on, leave it on. What that's going to do is cause your soil to heat up. When your soil heats, you have a faster germination rate than let it have without the heating mat.
Okay.
What I'll do
That's
is
a good idea. Yeah.
for our next session, I'll bring my board in that I have at Brickworks. So I have that actually snaked out through there and I'll show what it looks like.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for all of your advice.
You're welcome. I don't know where this knowledge comes from, but it's stuck up here from me. You can live it up.
It's ancestral.
DNA wisdom.
It is.
So it's 8:03. And I think that we should just let Isaac go live his life doing other things. But thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for including me. This is amazing.
I'm
loving this garden question. Ask Isaac garden question sort of thing. It works for me.
Perfect. Okay.
So I'll see you guys next time.
Next time.